Karen, Mike's on. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Testing. Mic's on.
Hello?
I heard that.
Good.
Yep. See you beyond.
Okay. I will call the Vernon Town Board of Supervisors meeting, July 18th, 2019 to order. We'll have a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call and open meetings compliance check.
Chairman Carl Fortner.
Present.
Supervisor Jeff Milley.
Present.
Supervisor Gary Wilde.
Present.
Supervisor Ed Moline.
Present.
Supervisor Lorene Dashik.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, note for record, you do have a quorum of your town board. The agenda was posted inside and outside the Vernon Town Hall to the media, to businesses within the town of Vernon. And on the town of Vernon website, you're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Thank you. We open with public comments. Are there any public comments? Oh, Mr. Alex.
Michael Alex, S110W23450, County Line Drive, Waterford, but Vernon. When I woke up this morning and looked at my schedule, I was planning on attending tonight's meeting to witness the final procedural approval for what has been our 5-month process with the town of Vernon, but in reality, an over 2-year process of working, planning, and investing in making the dreams from me and my family a reality. That all changed around noon when I received a call from Chairman Fortner stating that any approval for our conditional use would not be granted until yet another public hearing and joint town board and plan commission meeting takes place. To be honest, I'm not sure how such a glaring error can occur when multiple levels of town staff, of not only the town planner but also the town attorney, have been aware of the circumstances of our application for those 5 months, and we were just today made aware of the mechanics of the appropriate procedural meeting. To date, we have been a part of 4 plan commission meetings, 3 of which have been joint with the town board. Those meetings have been held openly and published in agendas, 2 of which including public hearings, 1 for the discussion of an event barn use in general, which was attended only by those in support of the proposal, the 2nd of which took place last week and not only included the required Class 2 notifications to the general public, but was also delivered to all neighboring property owners per the requirements, as evidenced by the fact that 1 neighbor who did show up to view and comment on our proposal. That plan commission meeting, lasting over 5 hours in total, half of which was dedicated to our proposal, provided a comprehensive and in-depth examination of our proposal and received unanimous approval by all the commissioners, including Chairman Fortner as Plan Commission Chair, as well as the recommendation of a conditioned approval by the town planner. We appreciate the open nature of the preliminary discussions in the first meeting, as we navigated the process of getting the required language accepted into the town conditional use code as an unspecified conditional use, and have capitulated to the process as dictated to us by town staff, including the planner and attorney, to proceed at their recommendation, but has become a moving target at best. And even when the letter of the law for procedure is followed, as we assumed them to have been last week, we later learned that in fact they may not have been. Ultimately, that 2.5 hour meeting never happened, and the whole presentation and vote would need to be made again after it was determined ad nauseum that each individual condition was met. Although we knew the language of the event barn conditional use and the specifics of our proposal, it wasn't until after that meeting that we felt the assurance to further invest in the project. Prior to that date, we had our time invested into the process, as well as the professional fees for the preliminary site and business development, knowing that nothing is final until it is written in ink and approved. Having received that recommendation of the approval last week, we then entered into binding contracts for further site work needed as a condition of the approval last week, such as surveying, wetland delineations, architectural services, and subcontractor contracts, as well as taking the next steps with the county for their necessary approvals, only to have the rug pulled out from under us at no result of our own or our proposal. Pushing this meeting off another 3+ weeks not only adds to the time equation of our approvals, but it also adds uncertainty. We are now again back at square one, but this time with tens of thousands of dollars in the balance. Any considerations to impact our proposal had ample time to be voiced and heard throughout the last 4 months of our discussion with the town, most notably last week at our specific conditional use meeting. Understanding the letter of the law and ordinance that govern bodies such as towns, I do ask what right we have as the applicant in this circumstance. Our original application, along with the necessary professional reimbursement forms, supporting documents similar to those you received for our final application, and applicable fees were submitted to the town on March 11th, which took place only after a meeting and multiple conversations were had between myself and the town planner. Not only was our application received, but the check that accompanied it written March 11th was cashed and cleared our bank account March 18th. Although that action was taken, we were told that we would not be able to apply as our use needed to be first determined an unspecified conditional use with conditions set on it before we could officially apply. Then on June 13th, once the unspecified conditional use for the event barn was established the night prior, on June 12th, we resubmitted a new application as we were now the owners of the property as well as the applicants, which finally triggered our ability to be on the agenda for the July 10th Plan Commission meeting. The Town Code governing conditional uses, Section 300-22, subsection 2, governs the procedures of the public meeting and notification requirements, which have all been met in these circumstances. Additionally, subsection 3, under final review and approval, states, "The Town Plan Commission shall review the proposal as submitted, along with requirements as may be established or recommended by other governing bodies having jurisdiction. The Town Board, upon receipt of a recommendation from the Plan Commission, shall approve or deny the application. If the Town Board approves the conditional use, any conditions imposed by the town shall be made an integral part of the conditional use permit. The applicant shall comply with these conditions, and any failure to comply with the conditions set forth in the conditional use permit shall constitute a violation of the terms of the conditional use permit. Such violation shall constitute a violation of this code and will be subject to the persecution and penalties under the terms of this code." Having received the Plan Commission's unanimous recommendation, subsection 4A, under basis for approval, states, "The determination of whether to approve or deny or conditionally approve such conditional use shall be made by the Town Board upon receipt of a recommendation from the Plan Commission and shall be based on substantial evidence." Substantial evidence means facts and information other than merely personal preferences or speculation directly pertaining to the requirements and conditions an applicant must meet to obtain a conditional use permit, and that reasonable persons would accept in support of a conclusion. With the public notice and public hearing meetings being met, as well as the Plan Commission's determination and recommendation, I propose that the recording of that meeting, openly viewed on the town's YouTube channel, be played in its entirety tonight to provide the information for the board to make an informed decision for our proposal in conjunction with the recommendation of both the town planner and Plan Commission. Then I would be more than happy and available to answer any specific questions the board might have.
Hey, thank you. You're on the agenda. We'll discuss further when we hit you on the agenda. Further public comments. Okay, hearing none, we'll close public comments. Chairman announces possible closed session. Motion to go into closed session. Consideration and possible action on a motion to convene into executive session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85(1)(e). Deliberating of negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, more specifically, negotiations for a boundary border agreement with the towns of Waukesha, Mukwonago, and Waterford, and the cities of Muskego and New Berlin. And Wisconsin statutes 19.85(1)(c), considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically the review of compensation and benefits for DPW mechanic. Included in closed session will be the town of Vernon supervisors and the town clerk treasurer. The motion will require a roll call vote. Moving on to number 7, letter A, we did receive a request from Ms. Youngbluth, if I said your name right, to be on the agenda with, I think your email requested a annexation from the village of Big Bend to the town of Vernon
I put on the agenda also a detachment because that's technically what it is. So if you could come up and address your request, please.
Sure. My name is Christine Youngbluth. I currently live at S81W23645 Sunset View Drive in Big Bend. My husband and I own that property and would like to detach from the village of Big Bend and come here to Vernon. I don't know the process.
Yeah, well.
Well, you're on the agenda at your request. The process is a statutory process. It's in section 66.0227 of the Wisconsin statutes. And as part of that, it starts with the property owner, you, and a petition, notice and a petition wishing to detach from the village of Big Bend to the town of Vernon. Both municipalities under that section 66.0227 are going to have to approve that by 3/4 of a vote. That means the village of Big Bend, say, I do believe they have 7 trustees. That means 6 of those 7 trustees are going to have to approve your detachment. And then on our side, it's 3/4 of 5. So that would be 4 out of our 5 members. But it starts with the property owner.
Okay.
I mean, that's that's as much as we can help you with. I mean, it's up to the property owner. The town of Vernon really can't initiate this process, so.
So when I determine what the proper paperwork or whatever I have to submit is, then is that when the ordinance, like you guys would have to pass an ordinance?
Right,
correct?
and the village of Big Bend would also have to pass an ordinance. We both would in order for you to detach.
Is that
And,
simultaneous or is that?
No, it's not simultaneous, but,
Yeah.
you know, the village has got to agree to it, so.
And that's gonna be your hard part. The village
Yeah,
is gonna
we
sit
went through
ultimately-
this with a couple other property owners, and we're more than happy to have you come into the town. But I think you'd have a serious problem trying to detach from Big Bend. They don't seem inclined to allow property owners, once they leave the town, to come back into the town again. Once you get in the village, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, I didn't want in the village.
Huh?
I didn't want in the village.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. You know, the taxes are probably killing you.
Yes, yes. Have those requests been recent? Because the village
Yeah.
attorney told me that
Yeah.
nobody has requested to
I
leave
think it was
Big Bend.
within the last, well, just prior to the board changing over, we had a request from a couple property owners up on Crowbar. That had been in the town, went to the village of Big Bend and found out that it wasn't what they wanted and they wanted to come back in. And I don't know if they pursued it by going back to the village of Big Bend, but I haven't heard anything, and I don't know if the chair has from the
No,
village.
I have not, I have not heard anything
Yeah,
from the village
but-
or those particular
But
property
I-
owners. This-
You could make a valiant effort to take it to the village of Big Bend and see what they say. I have a big suspicion, I know what they're gonna say, but
As do I.
it's worth your effort to try, you know.
With the board's permission, I'd give her a copy. We've got this ordinance right here, the state statute, I'm sorry. I'd be happy to give her a copy of that if there's no objection.
Sure, it's public record. It's right in the
Same.
Save you having
statute
to look it
books
up.
and internet and everything else, so that's.
Yeah,
It's printed, save you
Right.
from running paper.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know those other requests, if they actually,
Yeah, we had-
did a petition, or if it was just a informal request by a property owner looking for additional information, so.
They need the taxes.
it'd be worth it. You can
get it.
put on the agenda for Big Bend and see what they say, but
Never hurts to ask.
no. All I can say is no.
Is that something, if I went in front of them to a meeting, they're not going to pass an ordinance or do whatever that night? Like, that's obviously a little
No,
more.
no, you're gonna have to, in order for, even to get to the ordinance stage, you're gonna have to publish a notice and then have a petition.
Okay.
And if it's just
They-
your property, that's easy, then you can just sign it. One property with a petition. And it's gotta meet the requirements, it's gotta be contiguous to the town of Vernon, and, I assume you are, so.
Can
And then
we-
goes to the ordinance stage.
Can we give her an informal approval that we would be in favor of that if she pursued it?
Well, I don't know if that's
I don't think that's proper.
appropriate without an ordinance in front of us, and it seems to me that if someone wants to detach the town of Vernon, we'd be more than happy to look at it, depending on where the property is, whether we can deliver services in an efficient manner to it, and, whether it makes sense for the town of Vernon. Now, ordinarily, I don't know exactly where your property is and your home is, but we would
I'd
have to
go
look
for
at
it.
all of that.
We're in,
Nothing to lose.
Scenic View subdivision, right off of Artesian Scenic Drive.
Oh, yeah.
You're immediately adjacent.
Is that Stripper's old property?
No, they're a little bit west of that,
Okay.
but they're adjacent to
Yeah, there's the property right behind us is Vernon.
So you have contiguous? Is that what
Yes.
she said? I'm not sure. I don't
No,
know.
yeah.
Is she not contiguous?
She is.
She is.
She is.
No problem.
No problem
Well,
with
no problem.
you. No problem.
Well-
That part.
With that part, right.
Yeah, you wouldn't be taking a lot right out of the middle of a subdivision or something.
Right, that wouldn't be permitted.
Yeah. You give it a try.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, good luck. Item 7, letter B, certified survey map for Dave Sparks. And the Vernon Plan Commission met last week and recommended to the town board to approve the certified survey map request of David Sparks, subject to conditions, as listed in the staff memorandum. So we were looking for, Mr. Sparks, is Mr. Sparks here? No. And Mr. Sparks is looking for a town board motion to concur with the town of Vernon Plan Commission recommendation to approve with the same conditions. And the
Having
same-
read this, I'll approve the motion of the request from petitioner David and Joan Sparks to, how did they word that? They want to combine the lots or?
Supervisor Mullin, you'd be concurring with the Plan Commission's recommendation of approval of the certified survey map for the petitioner as stated with the conditions by the planner of July 10th, 2019.
With the conditions as noted,
Great.
please. That's what I did.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Voice. Okay, 7C, final certified survey map for Chris Lohman at the, keep myself going here, in the right order. At the Vernon Plan Commission last week, the Plan Commission did recommend to the town board approving the certified survey map for Chris Lohman and granting a waiver subject to conditions as listed, and in particular, conditions as far as deed restrictions or restrictions recorded on deeds and notes recorded on certified survey map, which is important in the Plan Commission's deliberations with regard to extending Myers Drive. And we're concerned that, because right now, it's not even a cul-de-sac,
Right.
it's a stub road, if you will, and it's been on the town map to be extended as that property gets developed. And so we were concerned about that, and that's why we didn't make him do anything with the subdivision. We just said, note on the certified survey map that we may require an extension of Myers Drive if he wants to further subdivide his larger parcel.
That would be a condition of the approval?
That would be a condition of approval along with the other, it's all in the staff recommendation,
Yeah.
along with the other 9 items.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to state for the record that Attorney Liz Tolbert, the attorney for Chris Lohman, has drafted the deed restriction and is at the town attorney for review. She also has stated that she hasn't been in contact with Metropolitan Surveyor, Mr. Lohman's surveyor and they're in the process of doing the 2 restrictions as stated by the Plan Commission and will be submitted to the town chairman before it's recorded.
Those were the conditions, the deed restrictions. So they're in progress. Those, Are you Liz?
I'm Mrs. Loman.
Okay.
So I did bring survey maps from Metropolitan Survey, gave that to me today. And they said they would send the original once they knew 100% what you wanted.
And that's exactly what the attorneys for the Lomans, Liz Tolbert, had said is all the conditions, she was sent all the final planner comments, and she has absolutely no problem having those implemented from Metropolitan Survey, and has also submitted the deed restriction, and that's in the process of
Correct.
legal review.
Correct.
And Ms. Loman, as soon as we get any correspondence, I'll copy you and your husband.
Right.
Right, so as far as approval, if the board is so inclined, we would approve it subject to these conditions, and you're, ticking off your conditions, and as soon as those are done, because the board has granted with conditions, as soon as the conditions are fulfilled, you wouldn't have to come back, and then you could file your certified
Right.
survey map. So that would, that's why we do it with conditions, so you don't
Okay.
have to eliminate all the conditions to get your approval.
So the ones that she redid or that you sent last time, they put on, except I think there's 1 or 2 missing
Right.
with the deed restrictions. And then so if I tell them it's your approval, then they will, Metropolitan Survey can send you the final, or we could submit this final original?
That's typically what's done. They send it in a CAD form, and it's sent to the planner, the attorney, the town chair, the engineer. Everybody gets a once-over before you sign, and after everybody signs, then we record it for you.
Okay, and so how long is that period of time? Like,
It depends on how fast your surveyor, the review from the chair, the planner, and the attorney are pretty quick. You also have to take it up to Waukesha County. So call me tomorrow, and I can explain everything to you, how the process goes. But it typically shouldn't take too long.
they were thinking they could have it by Monday, probably Tuesday.
Yeah, the best thing to do, if you could have your surveyor send it in a PDF. Obviously, the original we need for signatures, but that's the fastest way to get it to the surveyor, the planner, the town engineer. And you might want to, when you call tomorrow, I'll give you some other numbers you want to call.
Okay. Great,
Okay?
great.
Question,
Yes.
being a cul-de-sac, does this have any impact on the fire department at all? Did anybody question or look at that?
Yeah.
Because I know we got another one where that discussion took place.
Right, this cul-de-sac is staying, or the road, Myers Drive, is staying exactly the same.
So we're not changing the
we're not changing the cul-de-sac or lack thereof. It's staying exactly the same. All we were noted, because it didn't need to be extended for this particular subdivision property.
Okay.
We were concerned from a planning perspective,
That they could future?
the future, right? And that's why
Yeah,
we
'cause I
wanted to
didn't see
note.
anything on here. It looked
And
like-
if the future, if it stays farmland and,
Right, it
The
doesn't.
road stays
touch
right exactly
touch
where
the
it is.
property
Gotcha.
that we want, it's kind of
Thank you.
over.
it's over one. It's,
It's over, but
right.
it's on the other.
Okay.
Right. So we've been living with the Myers Drive as it has since,
Yeah.
I can't remember when that was put
Yeah.
in. Not forever, but
Long time,
a long time.
okay.
So do we have a,
I'll make a motion to concur with the Plan Commission's recommendation, subject to the conditions listed.
For the final certified survey map, Supervisor?
Correct,
right, and granting the waiver?
yes.
I'll support it. Second.
Okay, any discussion or further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Call me tomorrow.
Please call the,
Great, thank you very much.
Thank
for
you,
that.
Mrs. Bowman.
here.
Okay, letter D, 7D. This is the first of two that we have for the proposed Pheasant Ridge, and I know the developer is here. The first is a waiver from the Town of Vernon Land Division Control Ordinance on the cul-de-sac. Our ordinance says 600 feet. They're asking for a waiver of 750 feet. The planner and the staff and the plan commission, we recommended that that waiver be granted, subject to fire department and DPW. And we did receive comments along with petitioners, surveyors, clarification on the cul-de-sac. And the concerns was making sure, number one, that it was a hard cul-de-sac, that was confirmed, and that there was sufficient room to turn around equipment. And on that, they're proposing, and I think we could, make this, both, all of these, a condition of approval is the hard center, as opposed to, grass or soft. 70-foot radius, our minimum is 66, so that's sufficient. And paving diameter of 100 feet, and our minimum is 90. So it meets the rest of those requirements, and the fire department, didn't have an issue with the length. So the plan commission recommended.
The fire department never gave us any info why it was set at 650 feet.
That's a land division control issue, and as the chairman stated, we have multiple temporary cul-de-sacs and cul-de-sacs well way beyond the
Yeah, we were just
750.
trying to, at the plan commission, figure out why
Try
it
to
was
figure
set.
out why it's
It set-
600, right?
Thought maybe it was linked to fire hose. but that
No, and
wasn't the thing,
Chairman
so-
Fortner did indicate that at some point he'd like to revisit the land division control,
Yeah.
because this is a prevailing issue.
Right, to come in for waivers. If 600 is too short, the,
Yeah.
more modern day or whatever, and the fire department says 1,000's okay, or 750's
Well-
okay, well, that's fine.
It's easier too for DPW department too, if it's a
Right,
bigger.
that's why it's important
Yeah.
to have a hard cul-de-sac with the
Yep.
DPW and certain diameter and radius, as well as for the fire department.
And John doesn't have any problem with it.
As long as it had a hard surface, he said.
Uh, Right. So I would entertain a motion to grant the waiver as, as listed, with the conditions of a hard center, 70-foot radius, and a 100-foot paving diameter.
I'll support that motion for the request for the waiver of land division ordinance. And also rezoning was part of this, I believe.
Well, that's,
Is that gonna be a
Let's take
that's
second?
separate, that's
Okay.
separate,
Yeah.
right?
All right, so sticking with that, let's just do the waivers.
Right, the
cul-de-sac.
town attorney recommends that we have separate motions for waivers, separate motions for rezoning and so on, so that it's absolutely clear. So
Okay.
right now, and I know it kind of got blended together in the plan commission, but right now, we are doing them separate, so we'll stick
That's
on the
fine.
waiver. Second by Supervisor Moline. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Unanimous. Okay, so that's the waiver. We're on letter E. It's an ordinance 2019-05 to rezone the property for the Pheasant Hill subdivision between Pheasant Hill and Oakdale. You, in your packet, have a recommendation from the Plan Commission that, I'm getting to it. It's on page 7. So we're looking for a motion to
Yeah.
approve the rezoning request as listed in the staff review, subject to those conditions as listed.
Second. You made the
Yeah,
motion,
that's the
right?
motion. I'll make that motion.
You made the motion.
I'll make the motion. We'll move it along.
Does this have to
Mr.
go,
Supervisor.
does this have to be approved by the county?
This also has to go to the county.
Okay.
And did Mr. Macy review it, or should we subject it to?
I did draft that, so I would recommend, because it's an ordinance, that it be subject to a legal review.
So I will, friendly
Okay.
amendment to my motion, subject
Based
to
on legal
attorney
review?
review.
Yeah.
Friendly second?
I'll second the friendly amendment.
Okay. So we have a motion made and seconded for the rezoning ordinance, subject to attorney review. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. And the Plan Commission is going to be revisiting the preliminary plat next meeting, so that'll be on a future agenda.
So when does, this process, it moves from us to the county, right, for
For the
they have to
rezone.
approve it?
As soon as the attorney reviews it, the unapproved minutes and the ordinance will go to the county, and it'll start the county process.
Approximately how long will they have to wait for this now?
They're aware of the developments, but it has to go, I'm guessing 2 months.
2 months?
It goes through their plan commission, through Loopy, and at one other committee, and then the county board.
Ay, ay, ay.
Sorry, Dick.
Well, Nick knows.
So sometime next year, they might get something going over there, huh?
I can even, come on, Nick.
Okay. Letter F, 7F, and we heard public comments from the petitioner here. This is the event barn and the B&B conditional use. It was brought to my attention today, and after discussion with both the town attorney and the planner this afternoon, early this afternoon, it was determined that the town board and plan commission should have conducted a joint public hearing on both conditional uses. The both conditional uses are the bed and breakfast, which is a specified conditional use, sub 6 in our zoning code, 300-22B, I think it is. And also the event barn, it's a separate conditional use, which is unspecified conditional use, okay? And
Is that the reason why,
and it's both, and the problem came, or the problem with how it was procedurally done is our new ordinance that was adopted before I was elected and took office. And these aren't excuses. I'm not gonna make an excuse and say this is why it happened. I'm just explaining why it happened. I'm not gonna say these are excuses or a rationale, okay? Because I did call the petitioner and apologize for this, because it shouldn't have happened in my view. But under the new ordinance that just took effect, it was changed to require public hearings, a joint public hearing.
both
And yes, both boards. And what happened last week was a public hearing for the plan commission.
yeah,
And so then they recommended that the matter be remanded back to the plan commission to schedule a joint public hearing. The plan commission doesn't have to meet to schedule that public hearing, because I asked this, because that would even further delay it. But the town planner and the clerk treasurer can schedule it, and I suspect they'll schedule it as quickly as they can.
I have the notice drafted, Mr. Chairman.
And we can put on the agenda, because there's gonna be another notice and cost about, whether those fees can be waived, because, for the second notice and the second hearing. Now, as to the comment, that public hearing did occur. There was substantial evidence presented. If you watch the, I was there, Jeff, you were excused. I don't know if you watched it.
I
I think
watched it.
You watched it.
I watched it live.
People have watched it live, so you're familiar with the evidence that was
11:45.
presented at that meeting. So I'm hoping it doesn't take 3 hours again to go through it. And you also received, in your packet, it's blue, the Plan Commission's findings of substantial evidence.
yep.
And that we found substantial evidence and recommended approval for both conditional uses. So, I did press both the attorney and the planner. The concern, if the concern from the petitioner, yes, it's a delay, we apologize. I apologize for that. If we go ahead and, okay, go ahead and approve it tonight without remanding, we violated our ordinance, and it's possible one of the neighbors or some other
Could
adverse.
raise holy hell with us.
Well, or in legal terms, sue and get the permit, revoked, which wouldn't do anybody any good, and especially the petitioner,
Well, it could
because
slow
at
it
that
down-
point,
Could even slow it down further.
could slow it down further, and it could, if it's revoked 18 months from now, after he's made some significant improvements, that is not a good situation to be in as a petitioner. So, unfortunately, that was a tough call this afternoon to make, and, but at the end of the call, I would have to agree with the professional advice of the attorney and planner, that we remand this matter back to the Plan Commission to schedule and have a joint public hearing on both, on both conditional uses. They both need it. They both need a public hearing, but there should be one public hearing covering both, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Would we, just for sake of argument, do we have to go through their whole proposal on the event barn again, or would it just be on the bread and breakfast part? Both?
It would be both.
But the other, the event barn would be somewhat shortened because of the information that we already have gone through.
Well, and we received evidence on the bed and breakfast as well. The presentation was on both at the Plan Commission.
Okay.
Couldn't we get something highlighting what the changes were, if there were? I know there were some, because the dates were changed on some of it. But couldn't we get a highlighted version of that?
Mr. Chairman indicated it's not going to take as long because you went through 2.5, almost 3 hours of testimony.
Yeah.
But Mr. Chairman indicated also you'd have to restate that information for the record, not only for the town and the Plan Commission, but also for
The petitioner.
Mike and Jody, right? You want to make sure it's done correctly.
Now, another question. You're talking about probably the August 14th, what I've heard mentioned.
Right.
That's first on here, but that's. all right.
If, when we go through this whole process here, how much longer are they gonna have to wait after August 14th to get final approval of everything?
Well, the recommendation from the Plan Commission to the board was to approve it, but there's,
Conditions.
there's conditions.
Could be that
There's-
night.
I mean, yeah,
Oh, absolutely, it could be approved.
it could be that night, yes.
Okay.
But it's subject to the pages of conditions that Mike and Jody are aware of, the planner drafted for the Plan Commission and now Town Board.
And the
And they're
planner has-
well aware of that.
Planner has to be available for that meeting?
Oh, he'll be available, and we couldn't do any sooner because there's a Class 2 notice that
Right.
has to go out.
Has to go in a paper.
That was-
And Mr. Chairman, you would
Next question was gonna
schedule-
be, why can't we hold an emergency meeting, but the Class B puts a,
Would
Right,
they
there
they
has
would
to
be
be.
first on the agenda, though,
Sure,
correct?
they could be, yes, absolutely be first on the agenda.
Okay,
Although
well,
your subdivision needs to come back too. So
Yeah, but
we can,
You just let me know, because the only thing I need to know is how you want to do that, because Nick's, yours isn't requiring a public hearing, but the Alex's does. So,
we usually start public hearings so the public can, right, just like we
First thing.
started your public hearing, right,
so they'll
first.
come at 6:30. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman, that I noticed that for 6:30 on the 14th?
Yes, is that enough time, time-wise, day-wise, to get the notices done?
Oh, yeah, I have it all drafted. I just wanted to make sure and I'll get that to the papers tomorrow morning. And I will do, just so everyone knows, there was some issue in regards to the notice that was given, and the town went above and beyond what is legally required in that notice of the event barn. And this time, I will do it by signed certified letters to all the property owners within 300 feet.
And there's, as to the conditions about when it's gonna occur, there's 6 pages of conditions. So this is.
14th is a
And
Wednesday.
you're well aware of those 6 pages.
Yeah.
It'd be a joint town board and plan commission. I'm sorry.
Yes, why don't you come?
It's my understanding in looking at the new code that any conditional use would require that joint meeting. So whether it's unspecified or specified, so if you're just coming from bed and breakfast or the event barn, either way, they would have to be a joint meeting. Secondly, this essentially erases that meeting. So in the thought of going before and having it say, well, you know, we knew what was written into the record then, it's my understanding that we would have to present again, which I had the direction of Sean that before the first meeting, we have to go point by point. We have to go item by item, and then that same process happens on your end. So it's my understanding that that's the way that that meeting would go, and therefore it opens it back up to uncertainty, and that's our biggest thing. We can continue down the process of the due diligence that we have to do. It's just not knowing that that conditional use is, for lack of a better word, the rubber stamp at that meeting versus there's something that could change it. We were told by one body that, you know, unanimously it was approved, and now we're making decisions as if it was approved, and until that point we couldn't. You know, in that 5-month process, 4 months of it was let's do a whole bunch of planning and cross our fingers and know that this might not happen. Once that happened, in order to get our timeline back somewhat on schedule, we have to ramp things up. So that's the other consideration from our side, and from a town's perspective, part of the difficulty was even on the town's website, the ordinance, if you read chapter 300-22, under the regular searchable document, it's still the old ordinance language. There's a sub-tab that says, see what's changed, you know, new items, and you have to go to a subsection. So I think from a town's perspective, and that might have been a reason, and you know, that the town planner wasn't aware of the requirements, because that seems like that's a pretty big change, especially from a town planner or an attorney's perspective, to know any conditional use that comes before us, these are the new procedures. That's not a light change. Oh well, now we have to have a different scale drawing. That's something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But how you have to have those notices is pretty consequential for those professionals not to have, and also for the public. I wouldn't have known to search deep into the new ordinances, and I wasn't directed that until Karen showed me that today, and you know, staff planning never directed me to that. So I'm open to any questions you might have, but I just wanted to kind of put those out there.
Yeah, so we understand it. I mean, I tried to talk to you earlier about it one-on-one, but to your point about how the process happened, and we did talk about this over the phone, and it started before I became town chair, and there was a fork in the road. You could either try to amend the zoning code and put in event barns, or if it is event barns under the unspecified conditional use provision, and in order to do that, that's why we had all those public hearings and developed the list of criteria. For everybody, not just for Mr. Alex, for everybody.
From
And
the
then as soon
outside-
as that happened, you purchased the property, and then you applied to your specific property.
And so someone sitting in the audience, and you know, even some of the commissioners, that process was so muddied to know, well, is this a specified conditional use now? Is it an unspecified? It stayed under that category of unspecified conditional use, but now it's being defined. And whether it was unspecified or specified in the end didn't really matter, for the reason that it got held up here. It would have, if this would have been number 6, you know, like bed and breakfast, it would have required the same notification. So that's you know, difficult to kind of swallow that it happened now, and after that meeting already happened. It is what it is. We'll do what we have to do, and we've done what we've had to do to this point. But
Supervisor Mooney.
If it's any comfort, we have a ex-planner on the board for this process, and knowing him as well as I do, if he approved it and it came forward this far, if it gives you any peace of mind at all, I don't think I'm going to find anything that Dan didn't on that, and I'm probably going to vote to approve it because he's pretty astute at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And with our town planner, he's pretty sharp. I'm surprised he missed this, to be honest, but, no, I do apologize also, but.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I know
Please
there's
don't lose a lot of
limitations to-
sleep over us coming up with a lot of changes over what these pros have done. Because typically, we're not as efficient at those decisions as they are.
So just as clarification, the town planner will be present for that, even though it's a town board meeting?
It'll be
And it would be a
combined.
joint,
It'll
and
be a
that'll be
ju-
a special meeting in that it's not a normally scheduled plan commission meeting?
It'll
or
be the normal,
So the second Wednesday,
right, it'll be a joint town board plan commission meeting.
Right, and we'll start it up at 6:30 and take public comments, which includes yours and any other public comments. And the town board ultimately has to decide that there is substantial evidence if you met.
And this would be-
all the criteria for the event barn and also for the bed and breakfast. And this, this is what we discussed. This blue
Right.
thing is what, we discussed in Sean's notes.
and is this where I would be representing from square one? So we go through the full checklist of A through V and the definition? Just so I come
Yes.
prepared, I mean,
Yes,
I can reset it
Yes.
and start from scratch,
So hang on to this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely, hang on to that.
And might give any information you feel is pertinent, any and all,
Okay.
Right.
even if it's repetitive, correct, Mr. Chairman?
Right, correct. Yes, and unfortunately, you should at least re-give your presentation in enough detail to cover our substantial, evidence
Yeah, and the other
criteria, which you
thing-
did. I mean, you went through and we relied on that presentation at the Plan Commission.
The other thing, and I don't know how I do this formally, but just to see that correspondence from the attorney and the planner, I would request that we would see that back and
Yes.
forth, just to know when this happened and what caused this to,
Mr. Mike did ask for that, and the only phone call I got was from Sean. I haven't honestly had a chance to talk to the chairman. I haven't seen any correspondence from the attorney but if I do
Yeah, because I
get
know in
any-
the past, before the meetings, we would get, kind of that correspondence, or, the attorneys, I don't know if it's the same for the town board as it is the plan commission, but item by item, the attorney will say, this is what I have to say on this, no action, this is a board decision, this
Right.
policy decision, it seems to be the common.
Right, it did not come up the day before during the attorney's call. So our orange sheets here that are our attorney's comments, it is not covered in there.
Okay.
I
So
discovered
any
it
future
this
or
morning.
further, I'd just request kind of
Yes.
copy me in on that.
I've got if anything comes up, I promise I'll copy on it, everything.
All right.
Do we need to put on for the next meeting then a motion to consider waiving the fees associated with an additional
Yeah.
public hearing and costs?
It would have to go on you could do it at that meeting, Mr.
say the
Chairman.
Or
next
in
one,
August
yeah.
1, or
Yeah,
the
absolutely,
following meeting,
yeah.
or, I
Yeah.
don't know how waivers,
In fact,
can
we-
they come straight from the board, or does the
We
petitioner just have to
we
say?
probably actually owe you a refund, because what you paid for in March is not what you got for, but I'll put that all in writing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So keep these. This is a good,
Keep all of this
A-
stuff.
And this is a good thing for that public hearing to follow along with the presentation. I found it very helpful in the Plan
Oh, yeah.
Commission.
Yeah, I looked
It
at
was
it.
blank there, so, it'll be even easier to follow now.
We can actually view it on YouTube, right?
You can view it on YouTube if you'd like before.
Advance education here.
If you want to, you certainly can. Okay, so I will make the motion then to remand the, let's see how we're going to say it exactly. Remand the request for the event barn as an unspecified conditional use and the bed and breakfast as a specified conditional use to the Plan Committee to schedule and hold a joint public hearing with the Plan Commission and the Vernon Town Board.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Land use amendments, we're on letter G. These are the proposed changes, not so much proposed any longer, to our comprehensive land use plan, including the text amendments that we had public hearings on. And remember, this was properties in and around the village of Big Bend, principally, that we made changes to. The Vernon Plan Commission recommended that they be adopted. And under our ordinances, we have to wait 30 days before the town board can take action. We're just a little bit over 30 days. And so I put this on to get the process started. So it would be to authorize the clerk treasurer to draft the land use amendments ordinance. It has to be by form of ordinance, and forward it to the town attorney for legal review so that it can be brought back for August 1st for actual adoption. And this will also need to go to the county, so, I mean, it'll be a while before it makes its way through, but we have to keep, the process going, and it's just a little over 30 days. We couldn't have acted before this anyway, so that's why it's on the agenda, to keep it going, and we'll get the ordinance, I'm hoping by August 1st, and we'll have it on the August 1st agenda because, we did, those were important land use amendments.
Mr. Chairman, did you see the ordinance that I drafted last night? This. I did, just so you know, I did draft something. I didn't send it to the attorney yet, but I
Okay.
did draft.
Yes, I did see that, right. Yes, I did. Right. So it's drafted, I guess she's ahead of our motion, but.
Okay.
So I can make that motion to authorize the clerk treasurer to draft or finalize the draft of the land use amendments ordinance and forward the same to the town attorney for legal review. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Reason we didn't see it? Just timing?
Really, yeah, that's why I drafted it last night, so at least you could see, and all ordinances are laws, so Chairman thought it would be easier if I drafted it, then it wouldn't take John as much time.
That's fine.
Right. I try to have the attorney review things as opposed to drafting. I think it's more efficient that way, and as long as the first draft is a pretty good draft, it is more efficient. If he has to start it from scratch, it's,
Okay.
neither here nor there. That's why, and yes, it just can't, the clerk just got it done last night. Well, trying to. So I made a motion. Do we have a second? Supervisor Wiley seconded it. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Okay, now we're on letter 7H. This is the resolution authorizing participation in our cooperative plan with the town of Waukesha. And we are looking for a motion to approve. Is this, let me see, did John, you have a chance to look at this?
Yes, he drafted it, Attorney Macy drafted that for the town of Waukesha, and I plagiarized it.
Okay.
Once again, saving the
So any legal review, well, either the legal review is, well, he hasn't really given it legal review, but he has because it's a legal review of a motion, of something he's already legally reviewed.
1905.
He has not legally reviewed the names of Waukesha and Vernon, but that's virtually, and the
So-
chairman and the.
Right, so this will be an awfully quick
Oh, is it
legal
in there?
review. I hope. So I would make a motion to adopt that resolution, 2019-05, authorizing participation in the preparation of cooperative plan with the town of Waukesha, subject to a legal review, which, like I say, should be very, very short.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion?
This is just authorizing to start the discussion.
Right. Right.
Lot of legal review to start a discussion, you know.
Well, just just this, or this was one-page resolution, right? Not, no, it's not. We're not authorizing legal review of any actual cooperative plan at this point. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, unanimous voice. Letter I. Spring brush pickup invoices, payments, and possible refunds. We just received an updated list. I've also received more calls that are not on the list. Well, actually, only, well, I 3 calls, but I think Mr. Armstrong is on the list.
Yep.
Mr. Nolte is not, but he's called me twice. Once he said, I've got a question, then he calls me back and says, no, never mind. So I don't know if he called your office or called someone else. And then also, Ms. Plitt called and said, was complaining about her invoice because she didn't know about the $30 charge and she just had a handful of brush, which she said she wouldn't have put out. So that's another one. More, you know, more of the ones that I think you've highlighted in yellow. So there's one more there, and that just came in today.
Question. I'm looking at this one on the back for Glenn Armstrong. What's this no problem told number was made up? What number? Who? Why?
He stated that when he spoke to one of the supervisors, it was indicated that the $30, well, that's what he told me, that there was no thought process put into the $30. The board just picked a number.
One of our members said that?
A board member told them that.
What told? No.
I'd like to inform everyone that's not aware of it. Many meetings went into looking at those numbers and coming up with something that made sense for the cost of it. So it was not a made-up number that came out of the air. And if our board members are saying that, they ought to knock it off and follow the truth of the matter and not make up stuff. So be it.
And Mr. Chairman, the dark green ones, I would, you know, ask the board that the dark green ones, that those invoices be automatically voided because they were, it's an issue of they prepaid and point and pay, and so those would be a no-brainer. But the ones that are in yellow that require some type of discussion, and anytime you or a resident come in with an issue, we send it to John first. We don't, because he and his staff was the ones that picked up things or saw
Made the
driveways, right, so, or you can see some people were billed and it should have been the neighbor. I don't know how you want to handle that, but I can tell you the dark green ones are invoices that should automatically be voided.
Okay, good.
So the dark green ones you're recommending be voided.
Immediately and send a
And
corrected notice.
we could do that, you know, tonight.
Okay.
For
Yeah.
example. We can do other things too.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
at the minimum, it seems to me if someone has already paid, and we can't charge them again.
Right.
Or they billed the wrong person and it's been verified
Right.
by John.
Or they did a dual thing. We didn't know their arrangements. We billed the neighbor and, I mean, once we found out about it, then, but we still didn't void those invoices. We brought the issue to the board.
So the ones that were, the neighbor should have been billed, have the neighbors been sent a bill yet?
Not yet. We didn't, and we're holding about 39 checks. Because we're not sure what you were gonna do instead of cashing them, if you decided to refund, you know,
Yeah.
just so you know.
So there's more prepaid than on the list here, obviously, then.
Oh, there's about
Yeah.
probably $4,000 worth
Okay.
of payments that have been made.
So we only have to make decisions on these yellow ones then, basically. Do we have to take them individually, would you think, Mr. Chairman?
Almost looks like it. 'cause
Well,
some of them-
almost, unless we want to categorize them,
Yeah.
you know, and lump them together.
Well, there's like 8 of them here where they just
Red.
had a small pile or a branch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in favor of saying those were just a one-time courtesy of the DPW.
Yeah.
Because they didn't require any machine work, just pick them up by hand.
But, and I don't have any problem with that, but other than, if you call and complain it's a small pile, I didn't know, you get yours waived, and if you don't,
Yeah,
then,
what determines a small pile?
Then this is gonna be balloon in, hey, my neighbor, all you have to do is call up and complain. I don't know how it's
Supposed
gonna
to for
snowball.
one, what you do
I don't
for
know how
all.
it's gonna
Yeah.
snowball. And people are, like I say, I just got a call in today, left it on my voicemail, I didn't have a chance to call this woman back, but she did leave at least a detailed voicemail. And it's the same kind, it's the same kind that we just talked about, small pile, didn't know, right? Now,
Well,
whether
so-
she, and that's
Yeah.
her, leaving a voicemail, I haven't verified anything.
I guess too, we could table some of these to a later date till once all the bills have been sent out for the ones with the neighbor's brush, until the rest of them have been resolved.
I don't think you're ever going to be able to do this fairly. Small brush piles aren't going to be charged. People didn't intend to have it be picked up. How is this ever going to be done fairly? I think it all should be refunded.
And we had that brought up last meeting, too.
Well, we only have a few here compared to the 130-some. So it's a very small percentage that we had issues with.
Could we kind of, the ones in yellow, could we kind of have John, since they were the ones that picked this stuff up, could he make a determination? I'm sure would he be able to know? Huh?
That's the first thing I asked, because of the small, John said there were numerous properties that had small piles, and they just should have delineated but didn't.
Okay,
What is this? But Jeff is right, and a lot of these people truly said, if I've got to pay the $30, that's fine, what's $30? But, I mean, if, I didn't talk to anybody that was mad. They just didn't know it was gonna happen, didn't mean for it to be picked up, so they're, I mean, and to be honest, too, we had several people come in, they were terrified they were gonna get a finance fee, and I said, since I've been here, the town board has never charged a finance fee, and we told them to hold off.
No.
We stamped their bill so they'd have some documentation that they came in, that we wouldn't charge them. But most people have been very kind and understanding. And John, I feel bad for John because there's so many properties, that they picked up. They just didn't, write down when they picked it up. But he did indicate there were quite a few properties that they didn't have to use the big grappling hook.
Right, just driving around town the week before, just for
Yeah.
me personally, and, I noticed there was a lot of small piles out there. I figured people were gonna complain. There's about 30 names on here.
Yeah, look
Out of-
at this list. I
out of
know I got some
130,
calls
so.
from these people after we had this initial list. So it looked like they were farming to see what they could get for other answers. And I said, you're gonna have to wait till a decision is made. So we got people calling to see if they really have to pay this. And two of them that called said they had invoices, but didn't know what to do with them. We said, hold on to it till we get a decision made. So I think when we send these out, if we're gonna bill everybody, we should notify them that the decision has been made, that everyone should pay for the brush pickup because it was properly notified in the newsletter. That way they know that the bill we told them to sit on has to be paid. Otherwise, they're gonna come back and, say, one of your supervisors told me not to do anything.
Well, okay.
We can do whatever.
See my
whatever you-
question?
three of the ones in the yellow, we won't have to worry about because should have been billed to a different property owner.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
easily resolved,
Right, some of the yellow ones are like that. I know,
Yeah.
I know a couple of them that are on here that I took the call and,
I'm
You
sure
know,
Karen can
it
take
should
care
have
of
been his
those.
neighbor's
Yep.
brush and he already paid. Well,
We
if
split the
if he
cost.
already paid,
You
then.
don't have a problem.
Then it's not a problem. I don't know if he already paid or not. I have no idea. But someone, on that one, for example, this would be Tim Schlitz.
What if we would send out the invoices and then deal with the ones that are problems later on?
Well, we
Well,
sent
the
out the
We don't
invoices.
know.
The
We're
invoices-
just guessing who's gonna
The
create a
invoices
problem.
went out based upon the town board's decision and the direction of the DPW director of the properties that they
Sure.
went to.
Right.
And then if somebody complains, we can deal with it.
Well, I'm saying
after the
that
fact.
3 that, or 4, where the neighbors should have been billed, were they sent to billed or were they paid? We need to,
We have to reissue there's 3 or 4 that it was sent to one neighbor and it really was on the other neighbor's property.
Those
Now,
are-
now what's gonna happen after we send that bill, we'll find out, but
Well,
he'll
yeah,
say, no,
it's-
that was
it's
my
never-
neighbor's, not mine.
Right, it's, yeah, I'm afraid of that.
Well, we can speculate, but until you know,
Right.
why
And there
waste
is-
time guessing?
And there was 130 approximately sent out?
137, I think.
137 times 30, so it's about a $4,000 item. So Supervisor Dashick, I think Supervisor Moline, you mentioned it too last meeting. I don't know if you had a change of heart, but we can get into that. It's $4,000, nothing's in the budget. So if the board was so inclined, you could just say, okay, it's a mess, we can waive it all, or the board can, do something step by step. In other words, we're going to, okay, you gotta pay your invoice, except, the ones that have already paid, obviously, not gonna pay twice, but, except if you, are on the list or complain that you had a small and you didn't know, you called to complain, okay, we'll give you a free courtesy pickup. I don't know how John verifies it. I don't know how he remembers who has small piles or who
He
doesn't.
doesn't.
So he can't.
No,
And-
these
and
are
John-
from,
And John wasn't there.
these are
Well,
from the
John wasn't
complaints
there, the guys
themselves.
were. Right.
And two of the members that were there no longer work here.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
that's
really
true
tough.
too. Well, it's a lot of screwing around to try and get $30.
Yeah.
And I want to do this fairly throughout the town, and I get it. It was in the newsletter. I understand all that. I understand the rationale for charging for this service, but it is a change, and people were saying they didn't know about it. And, by charging, a lot of people understood it. A lot of people knew about it
Read the news,
because
yeah.
they didn't put out their brush, because they didn't want to pay the $30. Brush pickups were way, way down, 70% down, right? I mean, I think we got some statistics on that. I figured it out at one time, but brush pickups were right around 570 to 766 on John's chart, and it went to 206. So you went from 766, 825, 717 to 206. So I don't know why there's only 130 bills set out if there's 206 people picked up, but
There's a duplicate on here, too.
so
Makes me wonder too, out of that original, like last year, how many of those piles were so small
that's true too. You don't know.
that,
There's no statistic or no one keeps track of that. I mean, why would you? For what purpose, right? And, the other thing that's telling about John's statistics is, brush pickups are way down, 700 to 200, let's just say rounded. But the man hours didn't go down by 70%. The man hours went from 270 to 201. So you saved a little bit on the man hours, but, right?
kind of justifies not even having the brush service.
Well, and I think we reached that conclusion about
the
the
fall.
fall.
In the fall,
The
yeah.
Right.
drop off, yeah.
And this fall, we will be discussing
What to do next spring.
for next spring and whether to charge and how
We'll also be
much.
discussing what to do with all the brush piles that are gonna be left out there for these people that
Well-
don't know what's going on.
Well,
I'd like to
that'll be
make
this fall, yes.
I'd like to make a motion that, based on the conversation here, if we're done, we go ahead and ask Karen to bill these, and let's see what comes out of it regarding complaints. I don't think we can do it. You can't do one and not the other, according to John Macy. At how many meetings here, you gotta treat everybody equally or you get sued. So let's treat everybody equally and bill them.
But they've already been billed.
They've already been built.
Well, if the ones have already been billed, but I thought the ones
Every-
here with
there's
the
3 out
question
of
mark
here.
had not been.
There's 3 out of here that have not been billed because the neighbor said it wasn't their pile, it's the neighbor's pile. So we
Okay.
can bill those people. But then we'd have to we should void the person that allegedly got the wrong bill.
Yes. Make the corrections on that.
But that still leaves quite a few of the small pile. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, we can do it motion by motion if we want.
Yeah.
Do you think we ought to maybe?
What do we got? 3 that should have been neighbor billed,
And we can correct those.
and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 8 small pile, and 1 where it was left on the road from the year before. Never got picked up.
Okay.
I think that's. So I think there's 9 total that should be discussed then,
Yeah.
or.
Yep.
I'm not sure what Carol Johnson's was, chairman disputed.
Who
Oh,
tells,
Carol, that was, that, she said that was not her brush, it was her neighbor's brush.
Did she give you which neighbor?
well, we got one on here, Pamela
No, but
Yates,
she gave
the
me her
last.
address, you got her address.
I got hers, but I don't have the neighbor that.
No, she did not give me her neighbor's address.
Okay, so we should call. Oh, we don't have a phone number. That's why we didn't. I tried.
Oh, I
to
got a call. I got a phone number, I gave you that.
No, I don't
On my
have
sheet.
it.
Oh, okay. Hey, here's my sheet, you can make another copy.
We got a problem, the last one,
It's duplicated.
no, Pamela Yates. It says told not to pay, small amount. Who told her not to pay?
We told her to wait because this was going, she said, I have a real small,
Right.
and she's on the front page too. She had her husband
Okay.
cut down a huge tree. They had one branch, he was pulling almost all the tree in. They had one small branch.
So she's been billed, but she's got the invoice, she just hasn't.
Yeah,
Yes.
and she was told, don't pay it yet until the town board,
Yeah.
right? That's
Okay.
what that means. At least that's what,
Right.
that's how I read it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
people coming in,
Most people have been told not to pay until
Yeah,
that we
hold
made a
on to it.
decision.
and we haven't cashed a lot of the checks because we
Yeah.
didn't know what was gonna happen.
Okay.
Tell anybody not to pay.
Are we comfortable that Karen knows about the 3 that have been pointed out? And Jeff, what did you think about the small piles? We don't want to get there, do we?
Well, I think we should just table the small pile ones a little longer, because if we,
We're opening ourselves up to some,
and then all of a sudden we'll get a bunch of,
Liabilities.
then we'll get a bunch of other people saying, hey, mine was just a small
mine was
pile
smaller
too.
than that, yeah.
So I say we just hold off on those 8 for now. Yeah, I hate, it's,
I think we're opening, book
I
on a
know.
problem if we treat one different than the other regarding that. You've heard Macy say that how many times, we gotta treat
I
everybody
know.
equal, and that's not treating everybody equal.
Well,
We're taking their word for a small brush pile.
Right, that's in effect what would have to happen. We do have a motion on the floor. Did we have a second?
No.
No.
We did not have a
We had to
motion.
clarify it a little based on.
Right, can you, how about if you would
Retract it?
retract your motion and
I'll
let's
retract my
start.
motion.
Okay, let's start, and let's see if we can work through this.
Okay.
Should we take the easy ones first?
Yeah.
And I can make a motion that we should void any invoice that was sent out in error because the person had prepaid.
Okay, that's good.
How about that to start?
Yes. Number 1.
Number one, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. The next category that I think Supervisor Milleen was getting to was the wrong build. It's on it's my neighbor's brush.
Right.
Okay? And what are we saying? That that invoice not be voided and a new one issued to the neighbor? Or are we saying we just issue it to the neighbor and if it gets resolved, then void the old one?
This looks like one where John may have not been able to tell from the
Oh, sure, he couldn't tell.
address sign which it was, and she's calling to say, hey, it wasn't me, it was the neighbor.
Yeah.
I guess we trust that and bill the neighbor.
Right.
She's been billed, but-
In one case, the resident told me, not only it's the neighbor's, he's already paid for it.
Yeah.
I mean, so,
Yeah, I had
So
one
why
like
bill
that.
me?
I
Right.
had one like that too.
So that should be canceled on her account and let him pay.
right, and I assume that's easy to
Verify.
Right. But the first one here, this Jim Swanson, I don't see him. Karen's gonna have to find him, I guess, because there's nothing on the name. Oh, wait a minute. James, yeah, it's right below that, okay. They're there. should be billed instead of Cecil.
Yeah.
So that answers that one.
So-
Yeah, right.
So you don't want us to initially void those, you just want us to invoice the proper person? Or do you want us to void, I mean, we can track
Well, we
this
shouldn't
too.
bill two,
I
so we
think
need
we
to
should-
void one, right?
Yeah, I think we should void the ones
Okay.
and send the bill to the neighbor, but keep track in case that neighbor says, no, wasn't mine, it was his. So we,
The same issue arises with Clipstein, the next one down.
There's three like that, Supervisor Moline.
Yeah. All of them are the same, prepaid.
Those three, is that
mhm.
what the board wants us to do, is void out that invoice and correctly invoice the,
Yeah,
Guy's got a problem, he should talk to his neighbor, he seems to be dumping his brush on his property.
oh,
Boy,
Well-
there's a big neighbor issue there.
is a big
Huge.
dispute.
and again, if it's on the line, John didn't know which, he told me point blank, some of these I don't know which sign, I just picked one.
Well, this is
Closest to the
allegedly the
pile.
person comes across the street and dumps on their property.
Oh, boy.
It's a little bit more.
That's-
So which three are we talking about
The
here?
ones that, where you see the red,
Red.
those are that.
Garnier,
Oh.
Swanson,
Yeah, it should be, yeah, we would
And
take.
Bosser.
Right.
How about Mr. Schlitz, who said you've got it on here, already paid? That's what he told me. Was that been verified?
I didn't get something, I didn't get any, that one we'd have to check.
where's,
Okay,
Above Cecil.
above Cecil.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, that was the gentleman I talked to who said, well, it's my neighbor's and he's already paid.
He's dumping it on my property.
But we don't know which neighbor.
No,
No, he
he said, he gave me, we have his
Oh,
name.
okay.
Yeah, that one we have his name.
Oh,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how people think we would know that the neighbor paid and,
Yeah,
I mean,
They must have been talking.
they don't have a clue,
Well,
they're just picking up brush.
sometimes, yeah. Well, the guys don't. The neighbors talk to each other, but the guys don't. Well, how would you expect them to know?
Yeah.
yeah. Is that it?
that one we could void.
So that one could be,
That-
that one could be voided.
Yep, so there's three voids. We would add that to a billing error.
Right. That's what I would say. That one.
Oh, boy.
So, so Schlitz, you were going to void
Right,
it.
I've got that document.
You're right, voided to the earlier motion, that's just
Right.
been changed,
Yep.
category. So then we have three that, what you're saying is void, void the original invoice
Right.
and re-invoice
Neighbor.
the
So what we
appropriate.
could do, Mr. Chairman, is clean this up for now.
Okay.
Bring it back. Is that okay?
Take the
Yeah.
ones off.
Well, we
that
could
you-
do that.
Yeah.
If-
Keep narrowing it
i-
down.
If we, then the next thing I was gonna say, okay, what about the small brush pickups?
Yeah,
Supervisor Millies said, okay, let's bring that back. I don't know how the rest of you feel, and then Supervisor Dashick maybe wants to clean the whole thing out, but if
Right.
there isn't enough there,
Yeah.
3 votes to do that, okay.
well, you can, Karen probably could clean a lot of this up, bring it back to the ones that are contentious. I think.
Couldn't you, I wouldn't call these contentious necessarily.
or that there's some-
Disputed, yeah.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah, everybody I talked to
question
is
about.
really nice.
Huh?
Everybody I talked to is really nice and
Yeah, I didn't
understanding.
have
Oh,
any
yeah.
problem, they just want to know
They
what's
Don't
going
have
on.
anybody get nasty.
The ones who didn't know admitted to not reading the newsletter. It was their
Yeah,
fault.
yeah.
Karen, Robert Garnier, middle of the page, it said should be billed instead of
Two back.
Turek. Well, the one above him and the one below him, that red line,
Yep.
both have the same issue, that they think it's somebody else's bill, but there's only one red line.
Yep.
Is that because Tubeck is the one complaining it should be Gardner, or? And Gardner's complaining it should be Tubeck?
Pretty sure it got tried.
See, Menzies was billed,
It just said Gardner should be billed.
I'm
Gardner
confused.
wasn't, so Gardner needs, Torque needs to be removed,
Okay,
and Gardner needs to be billed. Or Gardner.
what about St. Lawrence right below them?
Mr. Lawrence didn't, he did not, Yeah, his would be voided, and it would go to Menzies.
Okay, so we did catch that,
There's
even though
another
it wasn't
void,
read, it was,
Carol.
yeah. You got it. I don't see any other questions open in here. Is that it?
Do you want the, should we start cashing those checks then? Because I'm sure people are gonna wonder, since you're not gonna do refunds. Then I just don't wanna,
Well, do you want to have a motion to start cashing checks?
Yeah, I'd say,
Well, so we finished out the motion with the two,
Oh, okay, that's right, we have to vote on that, don't we?
finish that one
Yeah,
out
okay,
first.
sorry. Yeah, we had, did we even have a motion to, oh, yeah, I think we
You were on
did.
the
Yeah,
second.
you got
point
one
already,
going,
so-
there hasn't been.
Yeah, we were on the
completed,
second category, that is. We need a motion to void out the original invoices and re-invoice, or invoice the appropriate party, I hate to use
Right.
the word neighbor, but the appropriate party, and we've identified how many on there? 3, 4?
for,
4.
and Carl, you made that motion, correct?
Wasn't there a first point of just fix the billing?
That one we voted on, I think.
Yeah,
Fix the
that was-
billing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was,
Do we vote on it, or just point number one, then you went to point number two, which was this?
right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I know, we voted on, I just made a motion and we stopped and
Okay.
took a vote on, and I wanted to get the ones that were double billed and billed by
Yeah.
mistake voided.
Okay.
I mean, tonight, when there was discussion about putting things off, let's just get rid of those. So now we're on point number 2, which is what I just stated, which is people who were billed, but their neighbors should have been billed. So we're gonna void out the motion would be, well, I'll make the motion. Motion to void out the original invoice and re-invoice the appropriate party.
I'll second it.
And there's 4 that has been identified
yes.
by the clerk treasurer.
Correct.
Okay, so discussion on that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Third category. Small, people who say, I didn't know, small pile. That,
I say we table that to another meeting date at this time.
For what purpose?
I'm afraid if we do forgive those, then everybody's gonna call them and say, I had a small pile too.
Yeah. What determines a small pile?
Yeah,
Why do we table it, though?
yeah, that, right.
I wouldn't forgive him.
I'd wait and
Yeah, the question then is, okay, are we gonna?
What are you gonna
what
do?
What are you gonna do
Table it
next
next
month?
time.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we gonna
That would
bill
be
him,
the
not bill
question.
him? I
Bill
mean, same question's gonna exist, right?
Right.
Bill him.
Yep.
I just don't wanna see more people calling up then and saying,
I'll take the calls, you know.
We'll refer him to Ed. No, refer him to Karen.
Well,
That's really past the buck.
they do need to get, they do need to get on the list. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
and right. I don't mind taking calls.
Send
I
him a
just
bill
have
and
to
give
write
him
them
my
down
number.
and I give them to Karen, so. So you, Jeff, are you making that motion to table? Should we vote on it, or do we have a second?
I don't think there's a second.
No second.
Well, I
So
can give
motion
you a
dies.
second if you have a reason,
No,
or
no, oh.
what, how, a follow-up, what we're gonna do if it
Uh,
hits next time, Jeff.
I was gonna worry about next time what we're gonna do about it.
You're kicking the can down the road, aren't you?
Well, and I know Mr. Chairman indicated he's got, so this is gonna be a living document for a little while.
Yeah.
It
Hang on
it
to
might
it.
be a little bit easier to see it in 2 weeks. And I could ask these people to do something in writing to you. I mean, all you're having is a phone call. If they could give you something in writing saying, I had a small pile, or.
Well, what's a small pile? Are we gonna ask
Well,
them to define
like
that?
Miss Yetz, Wesley indicated there was one large branch. Her husband cut down an entire tree. I don't know. I don't know where you wanna go, but.
I think you're opening up a big can of worms, because anyone watching this debate is going to say, why am I paying and no one else is, or other people aren't?
Right, that's the issue if we do courtesy pickups for so-called small piles, which no one knows exactly what that is, other than if a guy can pick it all up with one both arms, that could be a small pile, or another definition is, did you have to use the big machine or not? If you didn't, small pile.
Yep.
But there was no distinction made.
They're not here to ask.
And they're not here to ask. The people aren't here to ask. The guys
No way to
picking it up
qualify that-
are not
What's what,
here to
yeah.
ask, nor will they remember.
Yeah, I suppose, the people want to complain, they can come to a meeting and say.
Right.
We could deal with them one-on-one if there is
Yeah,
a real
we
issue.
can do it that way too.
I'd rather do it that way than say, just, let them out. Because once we say that, next thing we're gonna hear from Macy is, you gotta treat everybody equal. And you've been here, how many times have we heard
Yeah.
it? You can't do for one unless you do for all, so. That's the only reason I'm bucking your,
No, I agree with that too,
it's hard, but it's,
you try to be nice, but then you create more problems.
that's it, nice guys finish last, Jim. Do we need a motion to add them to the list,
Well, they're on the list.
to bill them?
They're
Well, they've
billed.
been billed.
How do they know they're gonna have to pay though?
Well, she's gonna have to tell most of these people they're gonna have to pay.
Or else come before the board.
Yeah,
So we're good?
That's usually what you have people do if there's a dispute on an invoice. I don't know if you remember,
Send a letter to them?
no, they come to you and appeal, like Mr. Wolf did for his bill.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll make a motion.
Okay.
You made one for,
We're talking about,
The
we're
small
talking about
piles.
the people disputing their bill based on, they either didn't know or they have a small amount, or both, I guess.
or a pile from last year. That's the other one on here,
Or
yeah.
a pile from last year.
or no pile.
can we restate that we're gonna bill everybody on the list?
No,
Except the
everybody's been
ones-
billed.
I can't do that because there are some we got a refund, that's right. You
Right,
said-
right. We've already agreed that some invoices are gonna be canceled. We already agreed that some are gonna be canceled and their neighbors are billed. Now we're talking about,
Just the ones that are the small pile type stuff.
well, we said small pile, didn't know, or
Didn't know.
it was there from last
But
year.
we have made them an exception in the other two motions, right?
Correct.
So it
Those
doesn't
have
need a
not,
separate motion.
Yes.
It does not, it's already covered.
it's already covered.
So the remaining,
We're gonna deny
There you go.
refunding.
Yep.
the
Is what you're
remaining,
saying.
yeah.
Yep.
Remember, at our last meeting, we said we were gonna look at all of this stuff, so I think we have to,
Okay. Well, I would
you can't just say
second-
nothing and say, well,
I would second a motion that says we're gonna deny them all.
I think that is the motion.
I second.
No, you just made it.
You just
I
made
just
it.
made
You
it.
just
Who's gonna
made it.
second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jim.
What is the motion?
to
Deny the refund request.
deny or refund requests or cancellation of their invoices for
Two
Yeah,
things,
cancel.
small piles,
small piles, didn't know about it,
Didn't know about it.
brush left from the year before. 3 things.
What about the no pile one?
Yeah.
Can we verify that with John's list?
Well, he got a bill, so
No.
John thinks he got
Yeah.
there was brush
He's
there.
he's on it, but
Oh, okay, he's on the,
there's a dispute between the DPW director and this property owner.
That's the one phone call I got, is this guy said he didn't put any brush out, but he got a bill. What do you do about that?
they'll come in.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to.
Okay, we have a motion. Second.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed. Motion carries 3-2. Supervisor Dashick and Chairman Fortner opposed. Okay, to be clear, since Karen, last meeting, announced that she was holding, well, I don't know how many checks,
39.
and we said by consensus to continue to hold them, I think we should probably have a motion
To release.
direct you to
Refund or deposit?
refund or deposit.
I'll make a motion directly to deposit checks for brush pickup.
Is there a second? Is that good enough? You got direction? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed. Motion carries 3-2. Okay. We'll see what we need on the agenda next meeting for this. Letter J.
Oh,
This, yes,
what a mess.
clerk treasurer. I do have some questions on what, but you can tee it up, please,
Well,
ma'am.
as indicated, I copied you all on the paper trail from the state. They said we have to adopt their resolution to indicate who is responsible for that account. And with that, they found all those old people that are still authorized users of that account. So the state has indicated that we adopt their resolution, and then I also put a copy of the letter that would direct the chairman to sign to remove all those old people, or those
The
old, not
old
old people.
signatures.
Yes, those people that are not affiliated with.
How far back does it go? How many signatures do
It
you?
goes back to a chairman that was right after Sterling Peck.
Wow.
You're
Matt.
on
Yes.
there, Marie.
Yeah,
You're on there,
Yes.
Marilyn Gauger.
yes.
Okay.
So
Yes.
as far as I can
Town's
tell,
really
from what I understand is, the town over the years, and years, plural, many years, authorized certain users, hasn't gone back and removed users when they're out of office.
Huh.
Kept adding the new
Or,
ones.
switched offices, old treasurers, whatever. And since this is a treasurer function, if you're not in office, you shouldn't be on the list to sign
Well,
or authorize anything.
great.
Right. So, two things, right? There's two things. One is this resolution that the state of Wisconsin wanted us to pass as opposed to just the motion. And my question on that resolution is, certainly the clerk treasurer should be part of that. Is there anyone else we want to add? What I always think about is in the event the clerk treasurer is not able to.
Incapacitated?
Yes. And there probably
an
should be
alternate.
somebody.
It's gotta be an alternate. If Karen gets hit by a bus, how do we get money out of the account?
Okay, so you had the same.
No offense, no
Oh, I
wishes
think that's a
made.
good idea. The only thing that they did state is whatever, or whoever's name, that we track it and don't let it lapse for 20 years like.
Oh, absolutely. This
Yeah.
ought to be revisited probably every year or
It
yearly.
should be, or every election if there's a
Well,
board changeover.
Every contract term for the clerk, for sure.
Right.
well, that'd be every year, as it stands now.
Who
So,
should be the alternate? The chairman probably.
Yeah,
the
I'm willing
chairman.
to do it. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be exercising any authority unless in the event I need to. I mean, I just wouldn't do it.
And we don't
We
even need
can't
it
find
anymore.
you in the
Yeah.
Right,
Bahamas
we
all of a
don't
sudden,
use that
you know,
account
anyway.
anymore.
Right.
We haven't used it for a long time.
Okay.
So there's
I don't think
nobody-
I'd get very far.
Carl can't get very far with all the funds that are in there.
Yeah.
So we would add Carl Fortner as town chairman.
Right.
Anyone else?
Two should be enough.
Yeah, two's enough.
That's enough.
I
Can't
mean,
keep
we
track of
usually,
what's on there now.
we are
Yeah,
not
you got it.
presently using this fund, but
But in the event.
in the event, we could start it right up.
Got two people.
Right. And we could always adopt a new resolution, adding another person, or changing
Yeah.
at any time. Now, the other thing is, on this resolution, I see, be it further resolved, and it says, please circle your choice, is or is not authorized to accept email requests, including facsimile transmission for withdrawal of funds. Do you have a recommendation?
Any type of transfer of funds is always brought to the board before anything's done. That's part of, I believe it's a resolution. But anytime there's transfers, it's not done, it's never done by email, or,
How's it done?
I've never
Phone?
transferred any
Wire.
funds.
Wire transfer.
Oh, by wire.
They don't do that anymore. They don't do wire transfer.
Yeah, they
That's
don't,
old technology.
yeah, they don't do wires, it'd have to be
Well-
ACH or,
Fax would be much more secure than,
Well,
ACH would be the securest.
ACH would be the
It's
securest.
encrypted,
Facsimile, the second most.
and email
Would be the least.
Yeah, email's never good.
Well, ACH, the board sees every time.
We
anyway.
had wire.
It goes
That's
right in.
probably a good way to follow it through and make sure
And this
it
can be
gets
done by
verified.
ACH?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's how the county does it,
Yeah.
and the state. Nobody does, they're all ACH.
I don't think that was an option when we were using the,
What, ACH was not an option, yeah.
not then.
I would, you know,
Maybe now it is, but I don't know that it was
But we haven't
then.
used it for how long?
At least 2 years.
At least,
More than that. Once we had the accounts backed up at Citizens, we stopped using, transferring up to the state. I think it was back in 2010, 11, 12, when we were,
Oh, no.
later
When-
than that?
when
Earlier
we
than
were-
It was
that?
after 2013, because that's when we switched auditors. That auditor did a complete audit of a 2012, and at that time, he recommended, it took a couple years. It didn't, it took a couple years for the board to change it.
Okay, but it's really not really relevant when it's
No.
switched
No.
over. So let's
No.
just,
Circle's
so
just not-
if
And
it
we
can,
don't use it.
if we can do it by ACH, to me, that's the most secure, then we wouldn't have, we could circle this is not.
Question? When we say we're not using it, there's no money in the investment pool
no,
at this
it's
time?
zero.
Right, because it's
Money's
all
not-
over at Citizens
But
Bank.
they send us.
Are we gonna use this again in anybody's mind?
No.
Why do we
Well-
bother with it?
Were we using it because we had to spread the money out in case,
Years ago, but
Yes.
the auditor recommended, that's why you get the money that you're getting on your bank statement, as opposed to when you had it in that pool.
Yeah,
Well, the reason why you want to switch it is if the interest rates at our primary bank fall below the state investment pool.
Then we could switch.
We could switch,
Right.
and we could switch on a day, you know?
Right.
That's why you
So have
would
it
want to
available.
keep it, that's why I would recommend keeping it available.
okay.
And that's why we did do it,
And update.
because
And
at
then we
tax
did
time, you
keep
had
it
$1
at-
million, $2 million going up there collecting higher interest. It was significant.
Right, so there are occasions, and maybe it's a temporary thing. I think the state pool will take money, I don't know, overnight, the next night, but it will take, I mean, you can get it in overnight, but you can withdraw it right away, too. I don't think there's.
So you can do the same thing at
Thing at
Citizens.
Citizens, right.
The secured securities that we're using now is extremely liquid, but you're earning a lot more interest than
Interest.
you ever did at the state pool.
Right.
That's why we
And it's
switched.
much
That's
more
why we
secure.
switched.
Yeah.
So just so
Well,
it's
I-
available, so that's why I would say continue it, just to have it
Just if
available.
you need it,
Yeah,
you need it.
if you need it, it's available.
but it has to be the resolution.
It has to be the resolution, so we would have a motion to adopt,
Okay.
you know, the resolution
From the state.
as presented with the
Addition?
addition of Carl Fortner as town chairman and the words "is not" circled.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that's the first one, and then,
Now we gotta do the other one.
yes, you want an authorization of town chairman to sign a prepared letter to remove local officials, and this would be going to the same entity, the state investment pool.
Yep.
So we're cleaning up the old account, so I hope we can do that. You're authorizing me. I hate to make that motion to authorize myself, so.
I'll make a motion authorizing the chairman to send a letter to remove the previous names from the account.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We'll have that going. Okay. Letter L. Clerk, you want to,
Oh.
this is the.
I emailed to
recall.
you, the state, the county, that the certificate of sufficiency has been approved, as you saw in your packet, and I also copied the actual Excel spreadsheet. If at any time someone wants to come in and view the duplications or the issues raised, there is more than enough signatures to proceed. And according to the state statutes, the clerk would bring that to the town board to set the date for the recall election to Tuesday, August 27th. Also, just wanted to let the public know that we do have a checklist that's pertinent to the town of Vernon that would not be on the Wisconsin Elections Commission's website. The paperwork for running for office would be on the Wisconsin Elections website, along with the town of Vernon. We also have packets if people would need those. But in accordance to the state statute, once that sufficiency is certified, it's brought to the town board for the town board to set the date of the election. And my request too is to have it this date as opposed to the day after Labor Day.
Well, I think the state, when I looked at the state statute,
6
9
weeks
point-
from the Tuesday.
Right, well, there it is, yeah, you said
I
it,
could have
it's,
waited to certify too, just so you know.
right. Yes, you could have waited a week.
But that would have put us on Labor Day weekend and.
Right, so the statute, you're right, mandates it as stated, the Tuesday of the 6th week after the certificate of sufficiency is issued, which is August 27,
The election day.
the election date.
When does somebody have to have their name in by if they want to be considered?
July 30th is the
Right.
deadline for submittal for their nomination papers and declaration of candidacy.
Right,
By 5 o'clock, and it will be open till 5 o'clock.
by state statute, it says Tuesday of the 4th week preceding the election. So that would be July 30, 5 o'clock.
Yes, that's
And the
what-
5 PM is in the statute
Let's give
too.
them less than 2 weeks from now.
Right, it's all by state statute. Any further discussion? So I will make a motion to call a Town of Vernon recall election of Supervisor Number 3, Ed Moline, on the date of Tuesday, August 27th, 2019, pursuant to state statutes 9.104D and the certificate of sufficiency filed by the clerk treasurer of the Town of Vernon.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
I don't think that's enough time. But,
We don't have any choice.
I know,
It's a state statute thing.
I just disagree with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's state statutes that I disagree with too. There is no discretion. I know on other things, there's, you got to call it between 70 and 110 days and all that, but here it's just black and white.
Yeah.
That's nothing compared to the main problem. You're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
They flipped the statute on its head. I'll abstain.
Yes, yeah, I know you're the subject of the
Obviously.
recall. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just because I disagree with the statute.
So motion carried 3 on voice, 3-1. One,
Yeah, I
right.
know, yeah. It's choice.
Supervisor Millie voting no, and Supervisor Moline abstaining because the recall is for him. Letter M, temporary Class B retailer license, German Shepherd Club. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman and town board members, this request comes in every single year for the German Shepherd Club. They've never had any issues related to their event. They have a bartender, one of their club members has a valid bartender's license, and it would be my request that the town board approve the Class B retail license for the German Shepherd Club of Wisconsin.
One question I have, Madam Clerk, is there's a box to be checked for either a temporary Class B license to sell fermented malt beverages or a temporary Class B to sell wine.
It's malt beverages, it's not wine.
Okay, so,
Note for the record that it is malt beverages. They do not sell wine.
First one should be checked.
so the first one should be checked and
Yes.
that change will be made okay.
Yes.
Okay, so with that clarification,
I'll make a motion to accept the application for a temporary Class B license, identifying it as the selling fermented malt for the German Shepherd Dog Club of Wisconsin.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous, voice vote. Correspondence and announcements. And then reports. Shall we start town board? Supervisor
I have no
Millings?
correspondence or announcements at this time.
Supervisor Wildey?
Nothing at this time.
Supervisor Moline?
Yes. I have a copy of the agenda from the July 10th, 9 a.m. meeting for the Board of Review. It's an improper notification in my mind. It leaves out pertinent details. Macy's telling us that the agenda is supposed to be clear enough to identify for the public what's going on. In this case, I walked into a meeting with no idea that we had an issue and why the attorney was sitting here with us and who approved the attorney sitting here with us. Because if we're gonna hire attorneys to come into meetings, I thought that was supposed to go through the town board first. I didn't know the chairman was authorized to make those kind of decisions on his own. I know this came quickly at the end, but that should have called for holding off the meeting, canceling it, rescheduling it, rather than go ahead with it as it was. Also a comment on the attorney that joined us, he was very rude to Jim in the meeting. If you listen to his tone, it was pretty pathetic. So I'm gonna be talking to Macy about this and find out where we go from this. I mean, this is improper agenda, it's actions by the chairman with no authorization from the town board, and I think we need to clarify this. So I'll be following up on it with Macy. That's all I got.
Supervisor Dashiell?
No announcements at this time.
I have a couple of things as chairman. One is stay cool tomorrow, if you can. A couple of items on my report. I'll move into my report. On prior agendas, there was a request by one trustee at the Village of Big Bend for fire and EMS services. We did talk about this in closed session, and I just wanted to update the citizens that we took no action. We discussed it. It was a request for one trustee, not the entire board. And unless there's a motion and a formal request by the Village of Big Bend, it's going to sit as it is. And obviously, at budget time, if they are interested in contracting, they will request it. But as it stands now, no action, and as far as I can tell, it's not going to be on any agenda until there is something, a formal request. So I wanted to make that clear, because I have been getting calls from people wondering about that issue. Second, I have been getting calls about closed session, and I thought I would just, I thought, and we read it before, and we read it today again, and we are going into closed session, and under state statute, it's all in section 19.85, sub 1, and the ones and I'll just paraphrase it here, the ones that are being relied upon to go into closed session with respect to these border agreements, it is an agreement, it is town business, and at those meetings, in closed sessions, we are negotiating strategy or terms that would be acceptable, to the town board in the town of Vernon. And the reason why there's a closed session statute in Wisconsin is Wisconsin, well, they call it the sunshine law, but their preference is everything in open session. And local governments, state governments are supposed to have as much as possible in open session, in which we try to do. And but when you're negotiating a contract, because you're giving away your possibly giving away your bargaining position. That is why the state statutes allow you to go into closed session. The other reason why we're going into closed session tonight, and another example would be on employment matters. And state statutes allow us to go into closed session on employment matters. But any formal action has to be taken in open session. And so that's why on the agendas at the end, we can come back and take formal action after closed session. If there's no formal action to be taken, what the board does is adjourn in closed session. Now, what, like, you know, and we can give updates, for example, what I just did about the no action, on the request, and we did talk about that in closed session on the request for contracted fire services. So I just wanted to try to clarify that for everyone. I hope it helped, and like I say, unless there's a contract and we're negotiating and we're setting terms, or an employment matter, there's other exceptions, but those are the primary exceptions that are used by the town of Vernon in its normal business, let's say. So that's my report. There's also in your packet, well, let's go to the supervisor's report. I know we kind of blend our announcements and reports together. We should probably think about how to put this on the agenda better instead of just following what we've always done in the past. But is there any supervisor with a report other than the one they've already given? If not, we'll move to Sheriff Department report, which is in your packet, the Vernon Fire Department report, which is not in our packet, not submitted in our packet.
Criminal damage to property.
And so, Clerk Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I indicated before, just so everybody knows the information, if they have any questions in regards to the recall, we'd be happy to share that information. As stated by the town auditor, I always put the Citizens Bank quarterly reports in regards to the security that's in your packet. Chairman Fortner had some questions in regards to the interest rates on the town accounts. Those town accounts are established by either an agreement or resolution, and the interest rates are reflected based upon how the accounts have to be established and how Citizens Bank credits those accounts. Howard did get all my comments and would like to come to the town board and briefly give some comments in regards to the change of procedures in all facets of to the clerk treasurer. Do you want him at a board meeting? Do you want him at how do you want him?
Yeah, this is significant.
Oh,
Well, this is a significant
Yeah.
document that was.
Copied this from someplace. I was kind of disappointed. It really doesn't direct itself to the questions you would,
No,
or
no, no,
the
no.
statements you
No,
would make.
he's looked at everything I'm doing. I think this is a great tool.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
read
if
through
you want to
it,
replace yours with it, I mean, that's,
No,
it
I
goes
mean-
way beyond.
oh yeah, but to me, this is something, my feeling is the finance committee should go through this line by line to delineate what is and is not done in the town currently. But also Howard would like to report on, the procedures that I gave you, what's in the, he always also wants to come back and report to you on that, even though he feels it's the board's decision. He would like to know if you want him to come to a board meeting, how, think about that. Not that you have to make a decision now, but he had some other suggestions above and beyond that document that I gave you. But that's really, if you read through that, it's a very thorough, comprehensive overview of what's, what is currently being done, what was never done in the past. So I don't know, Carl, if you want to, I don't know what you want to do with Howard, but he does want to come and talk to you.
And I appreciate that, and I think we should have him come in. What I'm thinking is, do we do it at a joint finance and town board workshop in connection, soon? Because we got budgets coming up too, as opposed to a town board meeting, with the thought being that we would go through Karen's suggested procedures or procedures she's following, I
Right.
should say,
Yeah,
is a better way to say that. And this worksheet, it's a very comprehensive worksheet. I don't know how many pages it is.
Copied right out of a government text.
it's from the Gatsby book.
It's from,
Yeah.
It's
right,
government accounting,
government accounting, internal control book, I think.
yes.
Is what it came from. And work our way through this checklist at the same time.
Yes. Well, and the other thing too, that's one issue, and it'd be nice to get the finance committee together even before budget time to kind of go over this and, some other, issues. And, kind of doubling into that is, as the chairman stated, we're getting close to the budget time. And that's my question is, I always prepare worksheets for all the department heads. Do you want to meet, how do you want to do the budget process? So I can, cue them, are they meeting in the evening? Are you meeting during the day? Typically, they get everything ready so that in September, you're ready to go, first week in September,
Right. So that.
with full budgets.
That we
requests.
can, okay, well, that's not on the budget to make a decision on the agenda to make a decision tonight, but it's.
No, but
it's-
it'd be nice to know what type of procedures
Right.
you want to follow for the 2020 budget process.
So we can make it a note for our next board meeting to put
Discuss
that,
how you want to
discuss
handle
how that handled. In the meantime, this is just information on a report. You can think about that, please.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I didn't realize there was that many procedures here. Just glancing at this thing, I see a lot of them that we're following, but there's a lot in here that we,
Well, that's,
I'd like to show you, I scored it. I answered it all. I'd like to.
did you?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
but there's a lot of that that's based on corporate staff. You don't have any
Right,
corporate
right.
staff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
That doesn't apply to us,
Well, in some, maybe not in the standard of,
the
17
daily
people.
operation?
well, you don't have the people to do it. You'd have to rework a methodology for it if you would. I've been through that.
Okay. I've noted that for
How do we handle
future
this?
meeting, future meeting. Finances, accounts payable. We're done on the reports, I assume. Will be. Accounts payable, I did have one question on the Rosman True Value bill that I didn't get to you earlier, Madam Clerk. It's a Vernon Fire Department bill.
Not the proven power one, was it?
Not the proven part, well, that could be a different question, but
Yeah.
no, this is Rosman's True Value. It starts with a previous balance of $100.41 with a little note
Yeah.
next to it, paid,
Why?
PD.
There was a
And
credit.
then on the payables, it's the full balance, including the $100. Just wanted to see,
That's exactly what he owes. In fact, they called
Okay.
it in today because some of those are so old.
Yeah.
so the $100.41 was never paid as marked.
The exact
Okay.
amount, I did check with their accounting, we went through all our bills, their bills, it's 248.
Okay,
And it's because of those old invoices that were never paid.
okay.
Why?
You see the question, why I was asking it.
Did you
Okay.
just didn't submit them, or what happened? They just got sidetracked somewhere?
I don't know,
You'd have to talk to Mr. Feldy, or Chief Feldy, right?
Who else?
I can't even get a report, so. Sorry.
The other one, Karen, do you know offhand, real quickly, the proven power one for the $599? What did he buy here?
She did send something later, because I asked.
Yeah, what is that? They put a lot of code numbers and stuff in there. It doesn't make an explanation as to what is it?
Wasn't there?
Huh?
Wasn't there some wording on something she sent? Honda.
Honda. A Honda car or what?
I don't think you get a car for $599.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that the
But
four-wheeler
not
we
for
bought?
proven power.
I thought that's the four-wheeler we bought.
No, it was
It
club
says
car.
mama underneath it.
That was
That's her
club car.
mama.
It's a club car?
Somebody's mama.
John have a Honda?
I'm just curious, maybe I should have called Alex and asked him, but
Yeah.
I I didn't get a chance to call him.
This is Vernon, this is fire
Huh?
department. This is fire department.
I think
Yeah,
it's, something's
yeah.
got a Honda engine.
That, yeah,
Something's got a Honda engine. on it.
six-wheeler or whatever he's got
Oh,
there. The swamp buggy or
Is that a new
what do they
engine?
call it, ATV, yeah.
No, you can't get an engine for 600
No.
bucks or more.
Well, I know,
I'll-
he's got several generators that use Honda engines. That I
Okay,
know.
maybe that's what it is.
That's what I thought it was, a generator.
The chief's
I'll
usually
call.
real good about
New
answering
Honda
individual
generators,
questions.
I'll ask him.
$1,000
Well, this could just be a replacement.
parts or something.
Wait till you see next APs.
Next one?
Wait till you see the next APs next. We got painted Nolan's bill.
Oh, you mean for the
We're broke.
roads? Yeah, well, we knew that was gonna be.
Right.
We had 10 grand for something from somebody that kind of.
Any other questions?
If none, I'll make a motion to approve batch 20190-718 in the amount of $52,634.75.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, unanimous. One manual check for Capital One credit card,
Oh, this is the one.
right, yellow, it's yellow.
1,000, yeah.
wood chips, but we need more. Do you see the playground?
The what?
Which part?
Water? What's,
Which part? Or Heather Ridge?
is that what they're using for it?
Well, the wood chips was nice on part of the playground that they put them on.
Yeah.
They should get another $1,000.
I'll make a motion to approve the manual check, what's the number? 65767 in the amount of $1,020 to Sparks, Capital One.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. May ACH transactions.
I'll make a motion to approve the May ACH transactions, the amount of $145,405.89.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Okay, May 2019 financial statement. What do we do? No approval is necessary.
Karen, I had a question, I gotta find it now. Had to do with the payroll for the fire department. And questioning how other benefits, this is on 105-2200.300.
Are you in a financial statement or?
Yeah, I'm on the expenses for the fire department, page 6. In May, we're at 76.97% of the budgeted number. It's a payroll, isn't it? Other benefits, what does that include?
What account number?
Or at the bottom, when they're, other benefits, fire chief, 100, 52,200, .300.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how, and again, on the
Is it
bottom.
on the fire chief?
Yes, it says, well, other benefits, fire chief. Page 6,
Oh, I see that.
see that?
Oh, let me check that.
Doesn't that look high
Yeah, because that should only be,
for May?
Yeah.
it should be probably, it should be 500. Yep, that, I'll check that.
Would you?
That's gotta
And
be
then one more down at the bottom. Phone service, 127.71%.
Dude.
Whose phone is he using? Would you look at that one also?
Got it.
All right. all the insurance stuff is due at an early stage, so that's why
Yeah,
we're
pretty much
burning
done.
most of it.
You're not gonna see any,
So workman's comp and such
yeah,
is all prepaid?
yeah,
or-
that's,
Okay,
that's all paid in January.
okay. I got the right line here? I gotta see, that's all right. County dispatch, I thought we budgeted for that extra that was coming this year. And on page 7, we're showing we're over 166.05 on that.
Page 7.
Yeah, page 7, down near the bottom. I even asked Alex, isn't that equipment he had to buy to be in tune with their frequencies and all? And I asked him if he had budgeted stuff for that. And he was real comfortable that was all taken care of. I think this is it.
Well, and I'll double check that because there's that bill and then there's that county loan, that 2,000.
Are they separate?
And the county does send a sign-off sheet to the chief every year. In fact, I got a copy of it.
Yeah.
So that they realize, and that'll be in your budget packet, the letter that the chief gets.
Okay,
One's on a note and then one's a bill, so I'll double check that.
so they may have come early and wiped out the account,
Or
or
it
pretty
coded
much?
to, instead of to the loan, it coded to this account, so
Okay, I get
we'll
it.
check that.
Thank you. I think that's about it for me. Did you ever get a quote on what it would take to get back to? I see the audio visual on here again, and we had asked what it would take, because the equipment's old, to get back on the channel 25.
Yeah.
Oh.
Never
yeah,
heard
we got-
anything back on that.
Yeah, Gary waited, yeah, we got one quote, it was 13,000.
One quote, that's it?
Well, we just started. I
Oh.
mean,
We're
yeah.
still gonna look into that?
Yeah, for budget, we don't have any money in the budget to.
I see that, we're over 134.40 for audio visual support right
That's
now.
now.
because we had to order all new microphones for 3 people that.
Yeah.
I know.
I said I'd wait until budget hearing in order to bring it up at budget hearing.
And the chairman does
Okay,
ask, and I indicated that you'd wait, because the problem is that's, all that stuff, everything's obsolete.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, not everything, we bought some new stuff last year.
Yeah, but they don't, you know,
Synchronize with the
they don't
old stuff.
coordinate, so.
We can.
That's life.
We're broadcasting live right now on Channel 25, but what the problem comes
Doesn't
in is the
record, yeah.
looping.
Yeah.
We cannot play back any of the meetings like we used to do. That's where the problem comes in. Because Channel 25, according to what some of the people I talked to said, well, they're getting the meeting right now live.
Well, Jeff's
But-
wife called and
but-
said she was watching it.
Yeah, but at midnight, when somebody's not sleeping and they want to be put back to sleep,
Go to YouTube.
they would like to look at the meeting, and they can't do it.
Well, the recorder that actually plays that doesn't even work anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't even run. And they don't
me
sell
I'll go over to share a
DVD
bottle.
technology anywhere.
No, it's,
It's a old. they
Yeah,
don't-
it's outdated. It needs to be updated.
gotta go to YouTube.
No, well, some people don't have computers. When you're old and decrepit, you want
Go to the
to
library, will show
What do
you
you
how
play
to.
your, what do you play your card games on when you sit in a chair?
not on my cell phone, because I don't got one of them either.
Okay, any other questions? On to town board minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from Thursday, July 9th.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next meeting dates. We have a staff meeting next week, Thursday, July 25th, 1 o'clock. We got Waukesha County Towns Association County Unit, it's the night before, July 24th, Town of Genesee at 6:30 PM. Board of Review, that meeting was adjourned to July 30 at 9 AM. Town Board, August 1. Plan Commission, August 14. And then Town Board, of course, is August 15, not on here, but
I have the same question. These were in the packets, Karen. Noise ordinances and
That-
stuff.
that
Do we get a
belong-
complaint?
that belongs with, that
Oh.
belongs with the event barn and
Oh,
the
okay.
substantial evidence, because, hang on to them, it should be put in with
Okay.
that. That was a late
Good.
request, before I had the
Okay.
Okay,
call,
good, I was wondering.
to include it for information. That's why.
Thank you.
Okay, we did next meeting dates. We are on to number 13, public comments. Any public comments? No public comments? We will go to number 14, motion to go into closed session. Consideration and possible action on a motion to convene into executive session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 1E, deliberating of negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing in public funds, or conducting of other specified public business, whether competitive or bargaining reasons required a closed session, more specifically negotiations for a boundary border agreement with the towns of Waukesha, Mukwonago, and Waterford, the cities of Muskego and New Berlin, and under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically the review of compensation and benefits for DPW mechanic. Included in closed session will be the Town of Vernon supervisors and town clerk treasurer. The motion requires a roll call vote. Do I have a second? I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made in second, roll call vote.
Chairman Carl Fortner.
Yes.
Supervisor Jeff Milley.
Yes.
Supervisor Gary Wildy.
Yes.
Supervisor Ed Moline. Supervisor Lorraine Dashick.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, note for the record that your town board voted to go in closed session by unanimous roll call voice vote.
Okay, we will go into closed session. We will take a 5-minute break. And we'll reconvene, well, let's make it 8, and we'll reconvene at 10 minutes to 9 o'clock.
Okay, good.
Yes, Gary, I promise.